I am using a Boye loom for my teddy bears. Now, in this presentation, you will learn how to create and insert movable pegs, making legs and combining them and incorporating yarn tails. You will need to create your own center pegs. Cutting a 1/4 inch off of these Provo Crafts work well. You can also purchase pegs from the Boye loom and create your own insert. Just put in the peg in something that is stable. Now we're ready to start, and so putting it around that peg on the side and bring it across, you can then start looping using the E-loop that you all learned how to use when you made hats. And the first row only is the only one you use for the E-loop. When you get through with the E-loop, you just simply bring them across the front of each peg. You can do up to 4 of them around the end, and then bring it across and put your thumb on the peg on the other side, and then you simply bring the E-loop stitch over the straight stitch, and you do that again. E-loop over the straight stitch, E-loop over the straight stitch, and when you get through that, make sure you push them all down. And you can push each individual peg down at the same time that you do it, as follows. You just take the E-loop across the straight stitch and push it down. E-loop across the straight stitch and push it down. And then you go around the end, and you're doing 3 this time. You put it across the top, and then hold it with your thumb and put the E-loop stitch over the straight stitch. Do that for all 3 of those pegs, and then push them down. Once you get them pushed down, then you just continue on the E-loop over the top of the straight stitch, and do that for those 2 pegs. And now you're ready to just do E-loop over the top of E-loop. So this time you're doing the E-loop over the top, or the straight stitch over the top of another straight stitch. Do that on all 3 on the end, and then push it down. Oh, you're incorporating now, so you take that off of that side peg, you bring it around and thread it through, and then put it across to the next peg, insert the hook down and pull that tail back up through, and then tighten it. And you do 8 more rows. The final tail is then incorporated on this 8th one. This time you'll incorporate it twice. So you come down through and grab it, bring it up through, and then do it again, down through and grab it, bring it up through, and then pull it tight to the back. And now you're ready to just go on again. You'll do the next loop, or the next row, you'll do the same way. And now you're doing 3 pegs. When you get through with this, and you'll keep going all around to where you're back to that same peg again. And so this will be the 9th row now. You're just finishing up the 8th row. And on the 9th row, you do it with the same peg that you did it on the 8th row. You'll come back and you'll bring the loop through the tail twice through the loop. And after you've brought it through twice, then you'll tighten it up, and then you just go right on. This is the last one, so you just bring it through. And tighten it up, and then bring it through again. And tighten it up the last time. And then you'll just continue on for 12 rows. And after you've done the 12 rows, then we'll come back and show you what to do. Moving on, and now that we have completed the 12 rows, we go on to the next step. you can prepare the two legs to tie them together. You can count those rows now. There's 10 of them. Okay, once you get through counting those, we're doing a center peg, and that's an E-loop that we put around that center peg. And then bring it across. And time it's a straight stitch over the E-loop, and then straight stitch over straight stitch. Okay, now we're going to continue on down around the end. And then we'll have a tail to work with. Okay, after you've put the straight stitch over the straight stitch for those pegs, then you're going to get ready to remove that center peg. Okay, you bring it across the center peg now, and then cut it off. Make sure you leave enough room to have a tail so you can combine the second leg. So you don't have to get the second leg finished. Bring it up through, just like you did with the original tail on the other end. Bring it right up through. And this time, we're using it to hold it together while we take it off of that center peg. After taking it off the center peg, just put it around the end peg there and give it a tying loop. Make sure that the first string, the second one's on top of it, so that it ties it together. And I like to do it twice so that it just holds it together. And now we're through with that one until we get back to the second one. Now we're ready to start on the second leg. Move the peg around so it's turned around and faces the other direction. And now you'll have 4 pegs between the two, 4 pegs on the outside between those two center pegs. And we tie it around on the one side and bring it under, and then you're doing the same way that you started that first one. You're doing an E-loop around the whole first row. And when you get through with that first row with the E-loop stitches, then you're ready to go back and start putting the straight stitch over the top of the E-loop stitch, and do the same process that you did now with the first leg. You're on the second leg, and that will include incorporating, although I have discovered that I like to just go the pegs on one side, so there'll only be 3 pegs that you'll do, and then you'll do the final one that we did 8 pegs on the last one. And there's a reason for that I've changed my mind. So when you actually do this, you can just do the 3 pegs on the one side. Now you're just going to go the full 12 rows. And once you've done the 12 rows, just keep going with the loop over the top, straight stitch, loop over, straight stitch, loop, all the way through for 12 rows. As stated, I have changed my mind about incorporating the tail. Don't do it 8 rows, just go 3 rows and don't turn the corner. You'll find it'll work out better incorporating the tail. Still go 1 row at a time. Just do the 3 pegs and don't turn. The second leg is now finished. I hope it went well for you. Now the legs will be tied together, and so we do that by first of all bringing the loop that used to be on that center peg, it back over the top of the center peg so that it's right next to that other one. And once we get to that point, then we can start to finish the first leg. We have just a couple of pegs left to finish that first leg, and then we come back to the center, and using a needle we're going to tie the two legs together. And we do that with the double V, and so we go back and forth 4 times, going from the center peg to the outside pegs on each side. And when you get through, this is the goal, it's going to look like this. You'll have a double V on each side, and the center peg will be the center for those 2 V's. And the needle is always goes down from the top when you go through each loop. That's very important so that it ties together and doesn't just loosen when you get through. And the center loops on both pegs on the other side. So you go through the center peg and then out and across. And then you come back and do it the other side. Come back and do it the other side. Back and do it the other side. Back and do it the other side. So that it's you have 4 times through, making the double V. The center peg's on the first side, just like this. And then you go to the 2 pegs on the side. And if you go backwards underneath and then come back, you can put it on the other side of the peg so that it's on both sides. Okay, going to the outside pegs twice on each side gives the double V effect. The legs are now together, and we can do it safely. This is what it looks like when you get all through.